PSR. We're talking about players out and players in January. We're talking Wolves, lineups, and of course, discourse, debate, discussion. Get your thoughts in the comment section below. This is the Rumour Mill.
This is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, the Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, the Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just $5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds, and this is the Rumour Mill. Let me know how you're doing in the section below. I hope you're all doing fantastically well, everybody. We are back with another day of news. How much can I vamp this up to get you guys excited? I don't know, but I will try. What's going on? Can see all the regulars in here as well. It is a doom, drizzly, drab, dismal day, really, here in the UK. Not looking great, but apparently at 2 p.m. GMT, or 2 GMT, we are getting a tiny bit of sunshine. But what's been going on, everybody? We're back here with hopefully a little bit of light to enter your world. Let's have a look. Let's have some good updates to combat the miserable weather in Leeds. Luke, you're telling me, mate. You're telling me. Morning, Conor. Hi, Matt. Hope you well, mate. I'll take a draw on Saturday, but feel we should try go for all 3 points. Matt is part of the Patreon, everybody. We are going to be doing a Generation Leeds today. We're asking the patrons, what do you want to hear? That's going to be uploaded on the Patreon as well. I've mentioned this before. It's been quite a while in the works, but me and Oscar are going to be doing a Patreon exclusive show as well, coming to the Patreon, I think, early next week. It should be, so check that out. If you haven't already, everybody, check out the show with Brownie last night. Well worth it. And I have to say something as well, everybody. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, you might be watching different platforms and people might be telling you this. One Leeds is struggling right now, and that's not in terms of what we're producing. I think we're producing good content. You guys are enjoying the Rumour Mill every single morning, but unfortunately, the YouTube algorithm has completely changed 2 weeks ago, and we are getting hammered for it, basically. It's not being shown in your recommended. Some of you aren't even getting the videos listed, which, you know, with your subscriptions. So it's killing us, basically, and it's harming our views. It's harming our engagement, our interaction. You know, I was at a point where you guys were putting like 150 comments in the section below, and within 2 weeks, that's gone. And a lot of you will say, well, Conor, that's because of the transfer window. That's, believe it or not aligned. You guys normally hammer the comments in there, and a lot of you just aren't getting notified. So the way we can combat that, everybody, is every single video, if every single one of you in the chat likes the video, which is absolutely free, it gets ranked higher, because otherwise right now, excuse me, it's suffering a little bit, and the only way it gets ranked higher is by more likes on the video. So it's not begging or anything like that. It's absolutely free. It just helps us. It helps me and you see the content that we're producing, because for some reason, last night, the video with Brownie, I was getting tons of messages saying, Conor, not seeing it, not seeing it, not seeing it. And it's because the algorithms change where we're not being recommended. Other channels aren't being recommended. So do us an absolute solid. Please, I've got a message from someone very high up in the media world telling me you're going to have to go out on your show. And I know I've done it before. I tried to avoid it, but I'm going to have to throw out some call to actions for you guys. And I'm just going to have to say, please do me a favor. Hit a like on the video, every single video. It means the world to us, because it just means that all of you get to see it. Because right now, we are being hurt by this algorithm big time. So do us a favor. I didn't realize how bad it was until yesterday. And I looked into the analytics and I was like, shit. Oh no. So if you enjoy this every day, please do me a favor. Wouldn't normally ask like this, but really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If we don't win on Saturday, says Reese, not only does it harm our points, but could kickstart their season, get as much as distance as possible. Like and done. Duncan says, always shown on my feed. That's good to hear, man. Lee says, let's all smash a like. Get it up to 1,000 today. This channel deserves everyone to smash a like. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. It means a lot. As I say, wouldn't be asking you if it wasn't for these flipping. I mean, I might every so often, guys, can we get a few likes, but I won't be, hammering and saying, look, guys, can you do us an absolute solid here? Ben says, so close to 50K. I am 32 as well when am I 32? Soon. Too soon. If I can get to 50K by, what is it, 2-3 weeks? Jesus Christ, I'm telling you on my birthday there. Then that'd be amazing. Joe, we had a funny story last night, and I don't know if he's watching. But shout out Will, who says that he watches the channel every morning. I went down to football training last night, and I've had this a couple of times. But there's this absolutely silky centre-back, right? And he's a modern centre-back, guys. Like back in the day when we'd all be playing, if you are in advance of like 17 years old. And centre-backs, you could tell a centre-back from a mile off. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking Kevin Davis, like, someone who who basically has that frame and could play centre-back and centre-forward. I know Drogba could have, but you'd be able to decipher between the centre-backs. And you'd be like, yeah, he's a centre-back or a centre-forward. This lad comes in yesterday to our training, and he was an absolute silky smooth operator. Do you know what I mean? Good on both feet. He was stick thin. Don't know if you're watching, Will, but he's stick thin. But how he just Dean Hoyson-esque, do you know what I mean? He was able to move around the back line and just predicted where that ball was going to drop. And he's just a modern footballing centre-back, of which I'm not used to. And he came up to me yesterday, took his zipper off, and he had a lead shirt underneath. And I went, welcome, Will. I went, good to see you. We had a few down at training last night. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know you are, mate. I watch your channel. I follow you. And I thought, oh, God. Oh, no. This means that I'm going to have to be very careful. Very careful every single time I'm playing Sunday League now. Because Sunday League last week didn't go well for me, everybody. Yep, I got a £15 fine. I got sent off on my debut, so it wasn't good. So I'm going to have to be on my P's and Q's for Will, because he might be reporting back to you in the chat, everybody. So not great. Lucky you get so many Sunderland fans then. Indeed, mate, yeah. Morning, Conor. Glad to catch live streams. Yeah, guys, and we'll have it in the... I tell you what, we'll rack a poll in the chat here before we get into the news this morning, because we do have news. But do you guys prefer it being 11 a.m. GMT? I'll put it in the chat, because we did it last time, and there was loads of you in at 11 GMT. So what I'll do now is I'll just whack a poll in the chat and let me know what you guys think in terms of what you'd prefer anyway. So we'll put 10 a.m. We'll put and we'll come to it at the end of the video. What do you prefer, 10 or 11? Obviously, this is GMT, guys. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into your daily dose. He wears long sleeves. I don't know if he's in here, Will. If Lee is in here, then great to see. Uncle Tony Pony says, yeah, I always see the vids. I have you subscribed on with alerts. Guess it's a call to action. Yeah, honestly, mate, it's a killer. It is a killer. I don't know what's going on at the minute, but thank you, YouTube, for making my job harder. So, right, okay, let's get into the first conversation, everybody. So this morning I wanted to speak speak about PSR. Boo, boring. But I will try simplify it for you guys. And this is why it may make January a little bit easier for Leeds United, which is obviously good news. Now, Leeds are working at an operating level right now of 61 million quid when it comes to a loss over, you know, obviously we're operating at a 61 million quid loss. So basically, PSR allows clubs over a 3-year period to lose around 105 million quid, okay? So when you're looking at over that 3-year period, Leeds United have lost 35 million quid, 13 million, or we're allowed to lose 35 million quid because we've been a Premier League club within that 3-year span. We're allowed to lose 13 million quid as well and 13 million quid again. Why? Because we've been a Championship club and the operating costs are a little bit lower. So yeah, so you add those three up, 13, 13, 35, that is 61 million quid allowable loss total. So Leeds United in the summer, we received 10 million quid for Ramazani, who obviously went out on loan and we didn't get any money for him. Joseph went out on loan. We didn't get any money for him. No buyout clause as well. But Schmidt and Verba have purchase clauses. We made 10 million quid from Rasmus Christensen and Sam Greenwood effectively when you're looking at that monetary pot. So these clauses when it comes to purchase buy-in basically run until the 30th of June. And that is really important in the PSR cycle because then it resets again. So Leeds United effectively, when it comes to Schmidt and when it comes to obviously Verba, Leeds need to effectively sell these players by the 30th of June. So that's one point, and that's when we're talking about PSR. Now, the beautiful thing about this whole PSR cycle is this guy. Okay, now why? Charlie Cresswell has a mass of clubs looking at him and who are interested. I had 4 clubs on there who have been the most interested. Apparently, Liverpool had a verbal agreement. West Ham put in a 13 million quid bid. That was rejected. Como put in a 14 million pound bid, according to reports in Italy. That was rejected. And apparently Atalanta as well had a verbal agreement with Cresswell. So a lot going on, but there was loads more clubs interested as well. Now, why is this important? Well, the actual formal bid that went in for Cresswell over the summer period was from West Ham United, who put 13 million quid in. That was knocked back. Toulouse said they wanted in and around 17 to 20 million quid. Conor, what are you waffling on about? Why does this matter? Leeds United have a 15% sell-on clause. Some reports are suggesting it's 20% as well, which is really good from a Leeds United perspective. Brentford do this. Brighton do this with all their products. They put sell-on clauses in. I think that's why it became effectively hipster and the right thing to do as well when it comes to the books. Other clubs went, oh yeah, okay, we should do that. And you actually got Brentford and Brighton doing it. I was reading a report this morning and apparently they were the guys who really instigated these sell-on clauses at such a high level. We're talking like 30-35%. City and then Liverpool apparently followed suit. So trailblazers in their own right, these smaller so-called clubs of which just seem to be running the Premier League right now when it comes to financial viability and being able to get ridiculous amounts of income in for really low output signings, of which I'd love for Leeds to be at. It's effectively that Moneyball approach, isn't it? So yeah, so 13 million quid, loads of clubs in for him. Now, this is interesting when it comes to Leeds United because if we are to sell him, or if we've sold him, but if Toulouse are to sell him, Leeds United, if it is a 20% sell-on clause, will probably get around about, dependent on the fee, if it's 17 million quid, around about 4 million quid. If it's a 15% on 20 million quid, I think it's obviously just a tiny bit higher there. So what does this mean? Well, this goes against Leeds United's books, which is positive, and there is definitely things that we can do with that in the January period. So there's a lot of rumours suggesting that Cresswell will be leaving Toulouse in January. Leeds would then gain from that sell-on clause. We'd get a little bit of cash in as well, which obviously because Leeds are at this threshold of the operating costs, of which we've just spoken about a little bit throughout the conversation there. The difference between Leeds United and Sunderland is, look, 13 million quid, 13 million quid, 13 million quid because Sunderland have been operating at Championship level for that period and Leeds have been operating at a Premier League level for one of those 3 last years. The positive with Sunderland is they've got low running costs, low wages, and they've obviously sold 2 massive assets when it comes to this cycle of PSR. Leeds United's obviously big profit margins were brought in previous PSR cycles, which is really important to note. And obviously, we still have massive amortization spread costs when it comes to some of our players over the Premier League campaign, filtering into the Championship, of which we still have to account for. And of course, we brought players in on big salaries as well. So with this kind of money coming in for Leeds, if they are to sell Charlie Cresswell to Toulouse, which looks a very big possibility. The Toulouse owner was speaking about Cresswell being sold in the summer. Obviously, offers have actually gone in for Charlie Cresswell, which, goes a little bit beyond the verbal. And West Ham United are probably going to need another centre-back. Liverpool, when you're looking at maybe bringing Mark Gahey in the summer months, which I think they're going to wait for, till next year when his contract expires. Why is that relevant? Because he's a centre-back. Apparently, they're very keen on Charlie Cresswell as well to develop and look and be one of those centre-back options. Because apparently Joe Gomez looks like he's going to be moving on. Cresswell comes in, there's an option there. So it looks like this is really viable when it comes to Charlie, and Leeds are involved in this race because we're so close to PSR restrictions right now. Now, for me, obviously this would align with pure profit when it comes to selling clause, but I would be looking at bringing in someone like this guy if he comes up. Well, that guy we'll get into, but this guy, there's a lot of conversations. Apparently, Leeds had a verbal agreement with Manchester City for Nico O'Reilly. O'Reilly has been playing, obviously, for Manchester City. We've all seen that. But this makes a lot of sense. Apparently, City are willing to let him go on loan or for a permanent if someone can afford him. But it looks like on loan that might work for Leeds United. But if it is a permanent signing, I can't imagine it's going to be that much money. But we know what Man City are like. They have inflated fees. But if Leeds are able to spread that amortization over like a 5-year period, the help for someone like Nico O'Reilly with such a low upfront cost and obviously a low annual amortization could be a really viable option for Leeds United in the January window with a sell of Charlie Cresswell, the money that we apparently had for Harry Wilson as well, which you would look at being, attributed to this, although we spent 98 million quid. Leeds could only spend 100 million quid. And when you look at that with the amount that we sold on, that makes a lot of sense because, you're not allowed to sell on, we needed to sell more players on to be able to then bring more players in. And that's how PSR works as well, of course. And when we're looking at Sunderland, that's a key example there, especially with the pure profit they made from the likes of Tom Watson. So Nico O'Reilly makes a lot of sense. Now, there's someone else, and that seems a little bit viable if we're able to look at someone who could fit into this Leeds United side, the low amortization costs as well, which we have to take into consideration now because obviously Leeds United are very, very close to that PSR limit. But then what frees all of this up? What frees all of this up? Sales. Sales frees all of this up. Now, this is another, we'll speak on Stach in just a second, but this is another guy who's been spoken about on the rumour mill over the past 12 to 24 hours. And the reason behind that is because, interestingly enough, Tim Bourget, who is the Anderlecht CEO, has mentioned that there is not a happy camp when it comes to Stroeykens. He wanted to leave in the summer. It was very close to leave. From what we were thinking on the last day and the rumours that were coming out of Belgium, Leeds United were in effect sending a plane out to Belgium, Anderlecht, and getting him to come over to Leeds. And there's been conversations about Mario Stroeykens with Leeds United for the best part of 2 years now, from when he was 18. So, but then the fee when he was sort of 18 was 20 to 25 million quid, but it has been reduced now to 12 million quid. Now, the money coming in for someone like Charlie Cresswell will make it a little bit healthier for Leeds United. But when you're kind of looking at that calculation, that amortization spread, if you to bring in someone like Mario Stroeykens, you're going to have to sell another player in January, which I feel Leeds United will do, and then we'll have to do. So if they want to bring someone in. So Tim Bourget said that they are open to a January move, and reports in Belgium are talking about them looking at a reduced fee. Stroeykens deal runs out in 2026, and apparently they are looking at June 2026, and apparently they are looking at a reduced fee and would welcome that. They are open to conversations for Stroeykens, right now, basically for a January move. So could Leeds move on that? There was a lot of rumours linking us with him towards the back end of the window. There was talks of Harry Wilson and Gus Hamer, and then a Stroeykens coming in as well. So Tim Bourget saying that as well, the CEO, it looks like he is going to be moving on in January, especially if your CEO and your ownership and the local blurb is coming out and saying that Stroeykens wants to leave, and Anderlecht are willing to have a conversation about a fee as well. And excuse me, his contract runs out in 2026. So now, how could Leeds afford that? Realistically, the Cresswell thing would have to go through, so we can spread that. We can add that to the cycle of PSR. But then on top of that, they would have to make a sale. Leeds would have to make a sale. And then I think the obvious one for Leeds United, as we all know, is someone like Illan Meslier. Is it someone like, are we looking potentially at a Joel Peru as well? I don't think so, because I think Joel Peru is going to be a lot of money. But when you're actually looking at players coming in, it makes a lot of sense. Players coming in and going out, it does make a lot of sense. Let's have a look of what you guys are saying as well. How bad has our recruitment been? I keep looking back at the window and it just keeps getting worse. Yeah, I agree. Get a deal done for Peru in January. Nico O'Reilly was superb in the Manc Derby. Michael says as well, he wanted Nico O'Reilly. Pep made it clear he wanted a small squad. We should have got his loan done in the summer. I think it could still get done in January, to be honest with you. There's been way too much noise around O'Reilly, and verbal agreements apparently weren't just with Leeds as well. Now, that would, we all know what they're going to get with Nico O'Reilly. Is a competent player who can play in multiple positions, very good on the ball, reads the game well. Now, if Leeds were to explore potentially a loan until the end of the season and then a permanent, you can spread that amortisation cost as well. City would contribute to that. That feels like it will be a good move for Leeds United and both parties. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be, I really don't think he's going to be a feature, to be honest. How can we help Conor? Just by liking the video, mate. That I really appreciate that. Do we get a 20% discount if we buy Cresswell? Sell-on clauses have been around since the 80s. Conor, no, Mark, I understand that, mate, but they've not been as inflated as this. There have been players that have moved on from Brighton, players that have moved on from Brentford, who have been at sell-on clauses of 35%. Which is the highest, definitely, in Premier League history. So it's good that Leeds United have had that. I was saying last window that Leeds need to be a little bit more aggressive with these sell-on clauses. Charlie Cresswell was actually one of them that I was speaking about. There needs to be a major sell-on clause here. And it looks like we might miss out on that one when it comes to potentially having that sort of 30% sell-on clause in him, unfortunately. Heading down in a minute, I'm not feeling great. Just hoping I'm not getting a cold. I don't really know what's going on here. Are you guys just talking to each other about general health? I didn't know Conor break your legs. McGilligan was sent off. I was, mate. It was a shocker. Shocking tackle. Morning, gents. Hi, MW. What's going on? Peru ain't worth the sale. His book value is still too high. Doesn't offer a good PSR boost, really. Yeah, you've got to think about what the value is that Leeds United bought Peru for, and what they'd then be able to sell him for. How much realistically would Leeds United be able to sell Peru for? Now, when you look at someone like book value-wise of Illan Meslier, could Leeds get 5 to 10 million quid for Illan Meslier? We brought him in from Lorient 6 years ago for 5 million quid. That's good when it comes to book value. Someone like Brendan Aronson, you can't just get rid of Brendan Aronson. We can't. You bring him in for the amount of money that we brought him in. And this is why I always say, everybody, when it comes to the overflow of Leeds United at this moment in time, unfortunately, we have a distinct overflow of signings that have come in and we just cannot get rid of. There's many that we can talk about on the books right now, but in particular, there's your Jack Harrisons, who we're going to get onto in just a second, by the way. And then you've got your Brendan Aronsons, who you just can't move on. You can't move on. It's not smart when it comes to that book value. Couldn't Meslier sign a pre-contract for January, seeing as though he will have around 6 months left on his contract and get a big signing bonus? He could indeed, easy, and that's what I'd hope is going on right now. I really would hope there's some sort of arrangement happening where Illan Meslier, he was close to moving back to Lorient. There was a Valencia, Carlos Corbrand's Valencia, who were very interested in him as well. You would hope that there is some sort of agreement going into January. This guy's he's barely getting in the squad right now, that 25-man squad. You would hope that there is an agreement going into January. And if something like Cresswell comes off and Leeds have a little bit more left in the coffers, I know we've got up to that 100 million mark, or near on that 100 million mark, so you have to sell. But if Leeds have to sell to buy in January, and we're at a point of which, I guess the difference would be, if you get to January and you're miles off it, is there any point in investing in January when you can wait until that summer month and invest the summer period and invest properly. Probably not. If you are in that January period and Leeds are very close, very, very close, and we can still be within touch, or we could be, sailing out of the relegation zone and everything's hunky-dory. But as of right now, I think we're all very aware that we're going to be right in it, right in the mix. And I mean, we've had a pretty decent start so far, haven't we? And we're 16th. So I can't imagine that this is going to carry on through periods of Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool within, 2 weeks of playing them. We play them again. It's going to be a tricky period. So you just get into January and being within touch and then being able to invest, it surely is going to be key for the club. Can we maybe sell Melee to a club that has keeper issues and long-term injuries? Yeah, I think as well. You look at someone like Melee, it's as a second goalkeeper, isn't it? And his agent might be turning around to him and saying, look, you're either going to go to Como, who is a very decent move for him, or you're going to have to go to a reasonably decently sized club in Valencia and play second fiddle. He's never going to start for a big club. Unfortunately, our biggest asset is Al, followed by Ampadu. Melee would be okay on the PSR books. You're completely right there, Kingy. Completely right. 3 seasons of amortization for Harrison. 4 next summer helps, I guess, though. He needs to perform to get interest, though. He does indeed. He does indeed. Zazardan says, any idea when 3 at the back video is out on the second channel? That is out, mate, today. That'll be out around about 2 o'clock, where we're focusing on the newly promoted club starts. So there we go. We spoke about O'Reilly. So I wanted to speak about this as well. We'll touch on Stach in just, we'll speak on Stach right now. I wanted to talk, and this kind of filters into the discussion, debate and discourse with you guys, and obviously receiving that dialogue back. I want to know what you guys think about our midfield. Now, there was a poll that was put out, I think it was last night on social media. Someone put out a poll, and on there, they were having a conversation about Anton Stach and if he starts for Leeds United with Tanaka coming back. Now, this is fascinating to me. Arguably, our best player. He's created the most chances this season. And some people are wanting Stach out of the side, which is fine. I think Stach's had a poor last couple of games. I think his decision-making's been a little bit off. I think when you're looking at him taking corners and set pieces, I mean, we were talking about it last night on White Noise. There was one of which there was a one-man wall. Stach hit the one-man wall. He hit the one-man wall. So it's not been a great last couple of games for him, but I think the first 3, he was our most important player. I mean, there's an argument against Arsenal. He wasn't great either, but he was one of the better ones. But without Tanaka coming back, this opens up a whole new conversation of what Leeds United are going to be able to do in their midfield. So, and Longstaff playing so well as well, which, I know there's a lot of people who don't believe Sean Longstaff, and we're just going to put the squad up right now of which, Leeds might go with. But I understand that Longstaff isn't everybody's favourite. He's not my favourite. I think he's very much an off-the-ball worker, but I think in the last couple of matches he showed on the ball danger as well, on the ball workings, of which I'm looking at and thinking, yeah, that's decent. He's looking decent, Sean. And I think he's developed in his last 2 games, where I don't think Stach's been great in his last 2 games. I think Ampadu is one of the first names on the team sheet. I think he's a fantastic player. But now we're having a conversation, and Ampadu's conditioning is just fantastic as well. Coming back into that Fulham game, I thought he was brilliant. Now are we looking at a situation where it's Tanaka or Stach? Now, I think that is crazy in a sense, because I think Stach is a miles better footballer than Longstaff. I think when we've been going forward, Anton has been dangerous, one of our more dangerous players. Brownie was mentioning last night that there was a bit that he fumbled in the free kick, but then I reminded Brownie, I said, but do you remember the Aronson chance when he got to the byline, put the ball in, and Aronson, did really well in getting a strike on goal, really. I think he's definitely our most dangerous midfielder. I think there is a way of Daniel Farke getting the best out of someone like Tanaka and putting him at the top of a midfield trio, maybe just putting Stach a little bit further back and saying, look, you don't need to bomb on forward, or maybe encouraging Longstaff. I thought Longstaff would be the most advanced of a midfield 3 in a 3. It doesn't appear to be the case. So it's interesting. What would you guys do? And is it as sort of formulaic as Longstaff comes out, Stach comes in? Because I said the other day that I think Tanaka can be a very style-based midfielder. I think there's an option as well to just bring him on, and that filters in the treble D, doesn't it? But I think there's an option for you to bring Tanaka on and for him to influence games in the sort of last 30 to 40 minutes. Whereas, you know, with Longstaff and Ampadu and Stach, you've got through the game, you've been solid, but then you bring on an attacking player. And this comes back into the conversation of what is Daniel Farke going to be like this season? Is he going to be in a 0-0 game and think, I'm going to win this? Because he needs to start doing that. We need to start going into certain games, and we can't have many games like Fulham, because if you go into Fulham and you're conservative like Daniel Farke was in the last 40 minutes, you better believe you got to get something out of that game. You got to get a draw. You have to get a draw. And if you lose that game and you've gone conservative, people are going to point the finger. So lots of conversations about what to do in the midfield. Does Stach come in? I know he's had a poor last couple of games, but I think Tanaka will come in. It's just how that midfield complexion looks now. Is it just a case right now, in your guys' opinion and Daniel Farke's opinion, to sort of A and B? What do you think, and what do you think Daniel will do, of Longstaff coming out and Stach coming in? I guess it's quite an interesting conversation point. Let's have a look. Stach, Ampadu doesn't help in attack. Unpopular opinion, I know. Yeah, Keenan, do you think that's the role? Do you think that's the role, mate? I'm not 100% sure. I saw that. Should you go Stach or Longstaff? One option, Stach. Just get him off the dead balls. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Kingy. I think Stach has to start. I think, look, in the Fulham game, I don't think he was great, but he was still one of our most important attacking players in that game without the final output. And I think that's really important. I'd love to see Stach with Nonto in the team as well, and a consistent almost remit with our front three. You know, can he get on the end of what Longstaff did when it came to Dominic Calvert-Lewin winning that header? Do you know what I'm really excited for? Genuinely really excited to see the cohesiveness of if he plays this front three and, you know, there's a midfield bomber on her. I want to see that. I really want to see how the combinations of the front three link with the midfield and how it's maybe a little bit closer and a little bit more conducive. Easy Teasy says, I think we're asking Stach to do what he hasn't done before. Play an advanced role. He's a 6, meant to mop up and play pass ball and find the long ball. Can Ampadu play the more advanced role? I think it should be. I don't know if I can get this on screen right now. I don't know if they'll show me a little bit more of an advanced lineup here. And I'd love it if they did, but it's not football. It's not Football Manager, I understand this. But so what we'll do is we'll move it to let's move it to a 4-2-3-1 and give ourselves a little bit more of an idea. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I think it'd kind of look like in game. So let's say we have, and this is what we're thinking beforehand when it comes to duels, ground duels, aerial duels. Anton Stach even this season has been brilliant. He's been brilliant this season. So this is probably a better way of looking at it than a 4-3-3. That's what I would look at doing. I think this is what we're doing now when it comes to Leeds United. So we've got Stach in it. This is what I think we're doing right now. I don't want to see that because I think you've got a more technical player who's played in the number 8 for Japan and Dusseldorf in behind Stach. And I think that's more important. I think this is how Daniel Farke is effectively setting up. You've got the 2 pivots, in a sense, 2 6s. And Tanaka's even deeper than Ampadu. But we know, as a technical player, Al Tanaka is a better footballer than probably Stach and Ampadu. So I would like to see, as a custom lineup, if we are looking at a 4-3-3, this is probably the best way to visualize it. I would like to see Tanaka a little bit further forward and given that responsibility that he's had for Japan before. I think that's really important in this Leeds side. And also, what about Tanaka on set pieces? What about that? With someone who's such a good and clean ball striker, what about Tanaka on set pieces? That's something I'd love to explore as well and see how good he is in that role. Au or Okafor push into the 10 role, plays Stach as an 8. Wolves, Burnley, West Ham and Villa wins. Just get Tanaka to play more advanced. It's what he does for Japan anyway, says Darren Wong. I'm sorry, but the more I look at that side on the screen, yeah, we're going to have a hard time surviving, mate. But do you know what I think with this, mate? I think a lot of the hard time surviving stuff, we've just got to park that, haven't we? Like, otherwise, there's no point in us watching Leeds. We just kind of sat there going, all right, we're crap, we're going down. I just don't see the point, mate. And sometimes I can be a harsh critic, but I also have a hell of a lot of hope. You know what I mean? A hell of a lot of hope with this Leeds United side. I don't want to just be thinking to myself, well, we're crap, we're going down. I just don't really see the point. Bob Young says, Conor, last night you asked Brownie how many points we will be on at the end of December. We've got 9 games: Wolves, Bournemouth, Spurs, Burnley, West Ham, Forest, Villa, and Man City. 12 points for me. So that would mean, Bob, that you presumably, mate, you're looking at all wins there. So Wolves win, Burnley win, West Ham win, Villa win. Is that your 12 points? Good point, though. We could throw that in the DDD at the end, mate. Frederick says, is there any truth in the rumour that we are getting 5 points back from the league? Just saw something yesterday on YouTube. I think you're talking about Burnley, mate. Obviously, Burnley are going into legal proceedings with Everton. We are involved in that to an extent, but I don't think Leeds are pushing legal proceedings, whereas Burnley are. I get the feeling Stach is Farke's golden boy, though. I don't mind that, though, Lens, to be honest with you. Yeah, guys, just a little bit. We're going to keep going, obviously, but just a little bit of I've said this to everybody at the start, we're massively struggling at this minute because of the YouTube algorithm. They've changed it 2 weeks ago, and it's killing us, absolutely killing us. So please do me a favor, every single one of you, go and hit the like on the video, and it basically just means it's going to be recommended to more people and in more people's inboxes. If you don't do that, the channel struggles. So I really appreciate that. It's a new lovely algorithm that is being chucked on us all. So where are both Beal and Bornau? Says Guy, they're on the bench, buddy. Let's have a quick look at how the poll is doing as well, everybody, when it comes to what do you prefer, 10 or 11 o'clock. Let's just end that poll. 10 o'clock still wins, guys. 10 o'clock still wins. We've got 64% of you on. That's a big majority as well. So it looks like that number, that 10 a.m. is still going to be working. So apologies for the 11 o'clockers. Stack has not been poor, just below his high standard. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just got to roll our sleeves up and dig in, says Jam. Nonto has to play. True, we got to fight. Kingy says as well, it hurts even more knowing how well this team is set up for a Nuno system. Even from a fast break specialist keeper would be so good. I guess the conversation then is to move on to Jose Mourinho. I got a couple of DMs saying to me last night, Conor, can you talk about Jose Mourinho? I don't really know what I'm supposed to say, but Mourinho looks like he's moving to Benfica. I don't think we had any chance with Mourinho anyway. And there's two parts of this conversation. Can we really talk about this when Daniel Farke is still the boss? No, really. I mean, we can throw it into the DDD at the end, but we can't really talk about this when Farke's in charge. I mean, it's interesting last night as well. Brownie believes that he will be staying for the full campaign. You know, he thinks that he'll ride out the season. I don't think he will. I'm not too sure on that, but yeah, interesting, different discourse there. But yeah, Mourinho looks like he's going to Benfica, so we can all get that off our scratch card. I know there's a lot of Leeds fans saying, "Go get Mourinho." I was like, I don't think that's happening, guys. Don't think that's happening. Listen, we have to give a little bit of a clap to this young man as well. Scored an outstanding hat trick last night, and I put him in the title for the last 3 videos, and I'm thinking to myself, how close is this guy going to be? And look, I'm talking about the bench. If you're good enough, you're old enough and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he scored 3 goals last night. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but on LeedsUnited.com as well, he said that he should have had more, which I love. I absolutely love that hunger, that desire. You've got a hat trick. You've effectively been player of the month in August. You've scored against Ipswich. You've scored against Burnley. You've scored against West Ham, I believe it was, and assisted in 2 of those games as well. You're effectively player of the month, and then, you know, you were also scoring a hat trick, and you're upset that you haven't got more. Seems to have a really good mentality, Harry. Different to Archie, I feel. Archie was a little bit more, when I've seen interviews with both of them, Archie's a little bit more happy-go-lucky, and Harry seems a little bit more serious on interviews, seems a little bit more, not measured as such. That's harsh on Archie, but he seems, I don't know, maybe in some instances a little bit more dialed in, I'm not sure. But perceptively, you know, you're looking at them both and they seem like different characters, which is good. You don't want them to be the same sort of characters. But Harry seems like a really, and they all are, and it's credit to Andy, it's credit to Eddie and Frank for keeping them all so grounded. And obviously, you know, I'm sure the fantastic women in their family as well, keeping them grounded and just keeping them so mature for young lads. I can see Harry being on the bench pretty consistently if he carries on. Looks like he's definitely one of our better, or probably the best under 21 we've got. You know a few people in the youth setup who, luckily enough, you know, do watch the channel and we've established a bit of a relationship with as well. And they think he's absolutely outrageously good, Harry, and he's going right to the very top. We spoke yesterday about Tottenham consistently having scouts at every single game Harry plays. I was told last night that there were Tottenham scouts there again last night. So, yeah, it looks like there might be a little bit of a push from Spurs at some point, whether or not that's January, whether or not that's June. But, I think Farker mentioned as well that they don't want to talk about Harry too much because he's such a young lad and he's got such, things to do in the game, but he's got to develop. You've got to give him time, and he's not going to be thrown into it like Archie was, but he's obviously a lot younger than Archie was as well. So, yeah. A lot to, or he might not be that. I think he's younger. I think he was younger than Archie when Archie was thrown in. Let's have a quick look. When was that? Archie age. I'm sure he was younger, but then they're so Archie Gray age. Let's have a look. I mean, he's 19 now, isn't he? I think he was. I'm not sure though. I think he was 17, 18, but obviously Harry's he's turning 17, isn't he? Would love to see Harry score against Spurs. He's good for the 21s. He's too good for the 21s. He gets 3 last night. Mum is massively influential in the Grey House. Jennifer, when are the mums not influential? Do you know what I mean? If my mum tells me something, I am there. Do you know what I mean? My mum has a huge influence on me as well. Depends who carries the can for the transfer window, inadequacies for Farker or recruitment. I don't think they can play Gray in the first team until he signs a senior deal. Don't want to. Yeah, there's conversations about him signing that professional deal next week, mate. Harry has something to prove. He does indeed. Liverpool gave Rio a chance, so why not us with Gray? Steve says, I don't get Leeds getting relegated things so early. Leicester were dead and buried. This is a really important conversation because we were speaking about this last night, and this is flying into the discourse at this point already, everybody. But we were speaking about this last night. I actually think when you look at the newly promoted teams, it's been very good. Very, very good. It's been impressive so far. It's been very different, I feel, when you're looking at the newly promoted sides. And there could be something. I'm a keen Premier League watcher. The last 2 seasons when it comes to the Premier League have been an utter abomination. And that is because of the structure of the Premier League, of course, and these teams, but we're in a worse position right now because there's effectively been 2 years of the Super League because 17 teams have just, gained money, got more, sort of higher recruits in when it comes to managerial staff, players, of course. And, the teams that are now in the division are up against that right now. I think all 3 teams have been really impressive from a defensive standpoint. I think Sunderland we're speaking about it just on the second channel, and there'll be a video going live very soon over there. But Sunderland's XG against is, I think they're in the top 4 in the division when it comes to that in terms of a positive stance. Them not conceding really many chances. Leeds United are right up there as well. I think we could be second. I think Liverpool are top. But when you look at all of it, you look at the teams that have come up, and then the context has to be applied to Burnley because Burnley played Man United, they played Liverpool, they played Tottenham, they played a whole host of ridiculously tough games, and then they've beaten Sunderland. So I think there's a lot of context to be applied with Burnley as well. Sunderland have started like a house on fire in terms of a newly promoted side and have done really well. At Leeds, I think when you look at the weekend's game, and I've watched all games, all of them at the weekend, and I think we were the best performing. Listen to what I'm saying, the best performing team at the weekend. I think we were very unlucky not to get a draw there, but I don't think anyone would have questioned Leeds getting the win, nicking a 1-0 win. I thought Roufs for Sunderland was very good in the net and kept out a couple of very, very good efforts by Palace at the weekend. Palace also, a bit of context as well applied. Adam Wharton wasn't playing. Ismail Sarr wasn't playing as well. So I have to say that's a little bit of context as well, because I think those two, as well as Mateta, are arguably Palace's best players. But I thought against the Fulham side, who were all at it, they had no injuries. When you're kind of looking at it, Leeds actually probably were the best performing team. And the overall concept, the overall conversation here and the context applied is I think all of the newly promoted sides right now are performing at a much higher standard than what we've seen for the past 2 years. And I do believe this is going to carry on because I think when you're looking at the last couple of years and you look at the managers that we've seen, in particular, I think right now, and this is where you've got to give credit to Farke, in a sense. Leeds have set up, and we've recruited in a way of which I think we're going to be strong at the back. We're going to be difficult to beat. There's different systems that we can implement. And that's, being able to implement different systems with quality off the bench is really important. There's different variations in what we can do right now. I'm not the biggest fan of Brendan Aronson, but Brendan Aronson currently is the best presser statistically in the Premier League, which is a highly impressive statistic. You've got Ethan Ampadu, who is the 11th highest presser in the Premier League currently. And look, we know that's not great when it comes to XG. Leeds are in the bottom 3 when it comes to XG in the division, but Sunderland aren't far off either. So these two teams aren't creating that many chances, but they're solid at the back, and they're currently not in the bottom 3. And when you look at the games that Leeds have had to play, in my opinion, when you look at Newcastle, you look at Everton, you look at Arsenal, and you look at Fulham, every single one of those teams, in my opinion, are probably going to finish in the top 10, 11, especially with Fulham's recruits when it comes to Chukwueze, Kevin, who Chukwueze in particular, I know a little bit about. Kevin, I didn't know that much about. Kevin looked outstanding, and the quality that they were able to bring off the bench is I think it surpasses a lot of Premier League sides as well. Just the volume of quality they had off that bench in the 70th minute. I think facing us up against the other teams in the bottom half, Leeds will fare a lot better. But I think the start so far, Sunderland have had a lot of pressure in another way. Burnley have had a ridiculous amount of pressure because the calibre of games they've had. But Leeds, I think, are in that same bracket as Burnley. And we're not in the bottom 3 yet. So you're kind of hoping that the lesser teams that we're playing it up against in the next however many weeks and months and over the season, we're going to perform better against. And that does start against Wolverhampton Wanderers at the weekend, who this is going to be the real measure of us. Brownie said it quite well last night as well. You can't lose this game. You cannot lose this game. Cannot lose this game. And this is where it becomes a really key conversation, and we're throwing it into that debate. If you do lose against Wolves, now you've been given the credit of the top 11. I think maybe towards the end of the season being Fulham and Everton and Newcastle and Arsenal been in that, and I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. But if you're coming up against Wolves and you lose that game, that's a problem. That is a problem. And I'm not going on the whole mantra of, we can nick that 3 points back. It's very hard in the Premier League to do that. Exceptionally hard to get 3 points. Right now, you're going up against a wounded animal who I don't think have really recovered from the sales of Aït-Nouri in particular, and Matheus Cunha. I think Fer Lopez coming in is still having time to acclimatise. I think Arokadere, I know Kingy's a big fan in the chat, but Arokadere is going to take time. You can see that already. He's only had one session with Wolves in the 2-week international break, and Strand Larsen, according to multiple sources, is going to be out for this one. So if that is the case, Leeds United, in general, Leeds have to. I think Leeds have to win this game. I think Leeds United have to win this game. And a lot of people will say, Conor, it's a must not lose. And I completely get that. But I think right now you are not going to get a more vulnerable team in the Premier League. So for me, you have to target that. And you can't just say, another win will come round the corner. It might do. But we know wins in this division are so hard to come by. And when you've got a wounded animal, by the way, they'll be looking at this game and saying it's a must win as well. They will be looking at this game and saying it's a must-win. We've got to go in with the same mentality. It can't be this, because I do feel it's a bit of a meek mentality going into a game like this against a team at the foot of the table and saying, a draw will do. I think we're playing Wolves at the perfect time. The perfect time. And I think Leeds have got to win this game. Okay, let's have a look. Cole says, fan base will explode if Wolves don't beat us. Definitely don't lose. Keep that 4-point gap on them. Must get a result or fan base starts to get toxic. Hey, Knox, how's it going, mate? What quality of bench are you thinking, Conor, to change a game as that's not happening? Well, Michael, I guess when you're looking at Leeds United right now and the bench options that we have, if we're to go in with the same lineup and everybody's fit, you've got Mecha, you've got Nonso, James, and Tanaka, off the bench. So that's not bad, is it? That's not bad. And when you take into consideration injuries and you keep the same lineup right now, you've got the likes of Tanaka, you've got the likes of Nonso, who are both not injured, and then you've got Metcha, who's not injured as well. So you've got 3 options there, at least out the 5 that you can make, who you would hope can make a difference. You know, would hope that they can make a difference in some regard. And, you know, if you're looking at, you know, rotating that, it could be a little bit different as well. Yeah, it's a must win. Interesting. I think there is a bit of a bit of discourse on this as well. A disastrous season would be relegation. Anything other than that will be a massive success. Oh, completely. It may come down. Farke thinks Harry is a bit fighty at the moment. 100% Wolves. No, they have to win. They lose to us and they're already staring the barrel of relegation. I'd probably go further than that. Easy ain't easy being Leedsy. I would go further than that, and I would probably say that if Wolves lose to Leeds and it's 5 on the bounce and they lose to us, I think Pereira might get the chop, or he gets at least one more game. I think it's that. I think losing to Leeds right now and the whole notion around promoted teams not getting close to, you know, the teams in and around the Premier League, I think that he could be on the chopping block there. I think it would be ridiculous, but I think it would be on the chopping block. His head would be on the block. Definitely a must win. They've got their best players out and we need to exploit. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't think we concede at Wolves, but we can create enough chances to put one away to win it. Yeah, I think so. I think we still created chances against Fulham. At the end, I think what I would like, and this is the game again, if it's 0-0, what does Farke do? If it's 0-0, because I think it will be 0-0 for a vast period of time in this game. I've got Leeds winning 1-0, and we'll get into this in sort of the preview bits, but what will Farke do if it's 0-0? Does he bring on Jack Harrison? Does he bring on Brendan Aronson if he doesn't start? Does he bring on Lucas Metcha for DCL? Or does he bring on, let's say we're talking about the lineup right now, bring on Willie Nyonso? Does he then bring on, you know, does he keep on like Noah Okafor? You know, does he put Tanaka into an advanced position? Does he bring on Metcha with Calvert-Lewin? You know, this is what is going to be the thing which is going to really measure when it comes to Daniel Farke. Does he go for the win or does he go for the draw? And that's the conversation, really. That is the conversation. Because if he goes to draw, that's fine, but you have to draw the game. You have to then draw the game because you're going to be criticised, obviously, if you're not able to do that. But I think it's really important, in my opinion, that we go to win this game. And I think we're good enough to win this game against Wolverhampton, especially with their injuries out. So you go and do that. You go to win the game. You're less conservative, which is what Farke does. He's very conservative when it gets to these substitution points. And I think you win the game. And that's why I'm going with a 1-0 Leeds United win. I'm hoping, and people ignore this because agenda McGilligan, but I'm hoping that he goes for it. Because I do think they're going to be blunt up top. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to be blunt up top, especially if they start like, you know, John Arias up front, or they start Fer Lopez or Tolu Arocadere at this moment in time. If it was Strand Larsen, we'd be having a different conversation. But if they're blunt up top, we sort our set pieces out. I think Leeds United can win this game. I genuinely do, but it is all on what Daniel Farke will do, because I've got a feeling the subs are going to make a massive difference, like they will do in a lot of games. Farke's plan, 75 minutes in solidity, then bring on Nonto and Prey. Nonto has to start for me. He is our only real threat right now. Kingy says, if we lose, we move on in the same way. If Wolves lose, they sack Pereira and bring in Nuno. I think if he loses to Wolves, I think the pressure mounts for Daniel Farke. Definitely. No matter what people will tell you, the ones who have just got complete blind faith in Daniel Farke and cannot remain in the middle. They cannot give a balance of, he's been really good here, but he's got problems here. When you're looking at a quantitative standpoint, when you're being objective about this, I'm not sure he can lose to Wolves. I'm not sure he can, and especially it's the manner of the defeat. But I think if they maybe... There's probably a more of a conversation about Daniel Farke's future, I would say, after Burnley. But there's then a conversation of you're then going into a real run, aren't you? A real run. But I'm not saying that will happen, by the way, but if we are talking about Daniel Farke's future, I don't think he can lose heavily to this patched up, foot of the table Wolves team. But I think we're going to win the game. Strad Larson, whoa. Right, listen, we're going to leave it there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will timestamp this as well, so make sure you come back and have a little bit of a, gander. But do us a favor before you leave, as I keep saying, slap a like on the video. Check out our fantastic sponsors, of which we engage with every watch along. We're going to be doing a watch along again this weekend, of course. So make sure you're involved in that. Really appreciate all of your support. Do us a favor again, as I keep saying, apologies, but slap a like on the video or this goes nowhere, apparently. And listen, let's get to a like total of 1.5k. That'd be great, everybody. And it basically gets recommended in people's videos. So thank you so much for all of your support. We'll put timestamps in the video as well. This is available on Spotify and iTunes as well. Make sure you check that out. If you fancy a bit of bonus content, we are recording a bonus episode right now for the Patreon. If you fancy that, you can subscribe to the Patreon. Link in the description below. You'll have access to our WhatsApp chat, which is popping off every single day, full of informative, energetic chat. It's been a pleasure, everybody. Also, Mr. Gabe Stutemore. Mr. Gabe Stutemore is coming to Leeds on the 26th, everybody. I'm staying in Leeds on the 26th, everybody. We will be announcing on the YouTube page which pub we are meeting in on Friday night, the 26th. If you guys can be there, it's the weekend of the Bournemouth game. You get to meet the man himself, and we'll be going down there for a couple of pints. It'd be great to see you all down there. There is a pub name that Gabe has given me. The pub, hold on, let's see what he said. He'll put it somewhere. Where's he said? What's he said? Which pub are we going to? But there is a pub in Leeds. Where is it? Hold on. Talking about Utah and all this sort of stuff. I might have to just let you guys know afterwards. Okay. Yeah. I thought he'd put it in. We might have just chatted about it off air. Maybe chatted about it off air. So I'll let you guys know, but you have to be subscribed. You have to be subscribed because I will let you know in the posts, okay? But if you fancy it, Gabe's going to be around the 26th, okay? Absolute pleasure, everybody. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a bit.